Equinox, Sweetgreen, and Nike. If you're a yuppie like I am, these are some of the hottest brands that you could buy from. An Equinox gym membership is a status symbol. Eating at Sweetgreen is the cool way to eat healthy, and Nike is arguably the biggest name across sports. Now, aside from being some of the hottest brand names right now, what else ties them together? They all work with Collins. Collins is a creative agency with a reputation for transforming the world's most recognized brands. And if you haven't heard of them, well, now you have. Today, we're going to take a look at how Collins came to be. We're going to look at some of my favorite projects from them, and we're going to take a look at what I think they should do next. But before we get into it, be sure to support the show by giving this episode a like, leaving a comment, and of course, by subscribing. This is Ziggy the Designer, the show where we talk about the world of graphic design and the people who make it move. Design is all around us, so we might as well talk about it. Collins is a creative agency founded in 2008 by its namesake founder, Brian Collins. Brian Collins had spent the decade before that working with the team at Ogilvy and Mather, now known as just Ogilvy, where he was the head of the brand and integration group. Before that, he had stints with FCB and Duffy. Ogilvy itself, right? Giant in the world of creative and ad agencies. But after making what he calls an overdue leap, Brian Collins opened up his namesake agency with one single client, and that was the Alliance for Climate Protection. And from that one client sparked a creative run that has been unmatched, right? Collins, the agency, has gone on to work with clients such as Twitch, Bose, and Spotify, among the others that we mentioned before. They are the cool kids on the agency block, earning Ad Age's coveted Agency of the Year award 3 years in a row between 2019, 2020, and 2021, even taking it home again in 2024. This is a generational run we're witnessing here for creative agencies. So how have they earned all of these accolades? Well, let's get into it. All of these awards aren't possible without doing some great work, right? So let's take a look at some of the work. My favorite project coming out of Collins is their work with Crane. According to Collins, Crane is the oldest company in the United States, being founded in 1770 in Dalton, Massachusetts. The company is known for their work in stationery. Think of cards, think of paper, think of, sketchbooks. While their work isn't flashy, the brand identity reflects the romanticism that comes with writing a letter, sketching in a sketchbook, and signing a card for a loved one. Collins' work includes the brand identity, some work in packaging and stationery, along with their presence on web. The brand is led by this great hue of blue. I absolutely love it. I don't know if you could tell. And it is supported by other vibrant colors in the brand library. Here we see an olive green, gold, and red. What the colors lead you to is the logo. And the logo, in my opinion, is flawless. The logo is a word mark simply spelling out Crane. It's a simple sans serif word mark, but the beauty of it is in how the type moves, right? The variable weight in the font gives a sense of motion as you're reading through every character. And with some of the characters being a little off kilter, like the C character, the A character, and the E character, that reinforces this idea of movement. And when you think of the brand and how it ties to movement, how it ties to motion, I imagine the movement of my hand as I, write across a sheet of paper. Or, I think about how a letter or a card moves from one place to another as it's getting delivered. Very romantic, very poetic. And don't even get me started on that R and A ligature. Probably one of the best features in a logo I've seen in a long time. Aside from the colors and the logo, the brand identity for Crane is supported by illustrative, almost hand-drawn elements. Right across the board, we see these beautiful illustrative, ornamental elements in the brand identity. Right, they're very organic elements, typically impressed onto the paper, almost like pressing flowers in a book. I think this element is a great contrast to the more structured sans serif typography seen across the brand, that the brand identity relies heavily on. Altogether, you have a brand that brings out the romantic and poetic side of stationery and paper goods, which for something as mundane as paper is an incredible task to have achieved. Overall, this project is not just one of my favorites coming out of Collins, it's one of my favorite design projects in general. And Collins doesn't stop here, right? Their work with Match, the online dating service, right? That work is also great. And I also appreciate their work with Equinox and their We Don't Speak January campaign. So where do I think they should go from here? In the case of Collins, they are one of the most awarded agencies of the decade, and we're just getting to the halfway point of the 2020s here. Working with the coolest, trendiest, hottest brands is obviously producing results for them. With that being said, I'd love to see if that success is dependent on the brands that they work with, right? Because when you work with brands like Equinox, Spotify, even Crane, those are brands that already have strong foundation, strong reputation in the minds of consumers. So that leads me to ask, right? Is it the brand that's elevating the work, or is their work just that good? I'd love for Collins to prove that. We don't have conversations like this when it comes to agencies like Pentagram, and we looked at Pentagram earlier on this channel. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. We don't talk about Pentagram like that because Pentagram delivers great work regardless of the stature of the client, whether it be a prestigious institution like the United States Library of Congress or a civic park all the way out in Green Bay, Wisconsin. That's why we don't question Pentagram. But when you're like Collins and all you're doing is working with trendy brands, I just feel like you have to do a prove it project, right? Do something for a local nonprofit. Do something for a startup in seed stage. Do something for a small community, right? When budget, time, and risk appetite are low, what can you do? Smaller agencies are able to create great things under these constraints. My question is, can Collins do the same? But how do you feel about Collins? Are you a fan, or do you feel like they're a little bit overrated? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's all I have for you. Be sure to give this episode a like, subscribe, and share. I've been Ziggy the Designer. If there are 2 things you need to know about me, it's that 1, I love design, and 2, I'm very opinionated. I'll talk with you all later. Bye-bye.